It's 7 o'clock. I will call the July 12th Board of Selectmen meeting to order. Thank you folks for joining. We will start with year-end transfers with Kenny Costa, the Finance Director. Kenny, are you here? I'll hand it over to you. Yes, and first we're going to start with Pledge of Allegiance, which now that we're in person, we can have. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Alex again. Hear me? Okay. Should we go through that without him? Skip it.
Okay. He did indicate that he was kind of signing on, but that he was going to be attending a meeting, and that started at 6. That we hope to join on once it was done.
Okay. All right. So we will pass over that for the time being. Town manager reports up next.
Okay, so I'd like to first acknowledge a lot of the work from departments and their staff as far as finalizing, getting things into the town account for finance director for end of year. There's a lot of work that goes into making sure that we pull together last minute bills and invoices to make sure that they're paid, get things taken care of, review some of the estimates that then Kenny puts together so that we can pull together this year-end transfer approval for the board. Because also it's a time where people are taking some vacation because there's only a limited amount of time that you can carry forward the fiscal year. Also, I want to acknowledge that and we talked about it this morning at the department meeting, that we have a number of vacancies. They're available positions. You can look at them on our website as far as opportunities. But also, because we have these vacancies, it does cause a lot more fall onto staff and department heads to really pick up the slack, make sure that business continues, that permits continue to be acted on and approved. Employees continue to get paid. Make sure that we can still respond to emergencies. So I'd like to at least acknowledge all the work that our town employees as well as department heads do to really pick up the slack, given that we do have a lot of vacancies in town departments. It's not unique to Upton. We're not facing something unique, but it is something that does create added pressure and responsibility trying to fill all those holes left by positions that are trying to fill. We are making some progress as far as we've scheduled for some vacant positions. So we're looking at over the next 2 weeks, hopefully identifying candidates and move forward and bring on board. So that's sort of like some of the things that have been happening over the last couple of weeks since we've last met. Just want to go over some things that are going on in some of the departments. Recently, the fire chief, as was approved at our meeting, became full-time. Previously hadn't, so he's more engaged now being full-time employee, learning more about the finance and administration side. Of course, Chief Bradley. They also have been coordinating with some of the developers on Collar Creek, for example, off of North Street. There's been some blasting that's been going on. The fire chief and fire department do issue permits. Some of that is make sure everything is going on correctly in conformance with applicable state regulations. Make sure safely. So spent a lot of work on their part, making sure that that goes off without a hitch. Also, we've had a couple in-town, not necessarily emergencies, but things that have occupied fire, police, social services department over the last couple of weeks. So we talked briefly about some of those things and bringing together really code compliance, social services, as well as police to really deal with some more personal situations. Fire department, they're of course involved with details, as well as other work with ongoing sort of nearing completion of Hartford Ave, all of that project. People in town may have experienced either the traffic delays or they see the signage. They're doing final grinding as well as paving over the next week. So hopefully by the end of the month that project will be wrapped up. Also, we're going to pull together a press release for this, but the fire department, fire chief did let me know that a fire alarm grant that they applied for, they were successful in receiving over $150,000 of funding. That project would allow for the upgrade of our existing hardwired alarm system to the wireless system, allow us to connect in not only other facilities that aren't even serviced by hardwire, but also the community center. So that's something that we're going to sort of get out and let people know that we're successful in getting that grant in the next couple of weeks. Town clerk, Denise Smith is now the acting town clerk. Kelly's leaving us on Friday to go to Plymouth. So she's ramping up to really get ahead of the election seats and duties. The preliminary election is going to happen the day after Labor Day, so there's a lot of work now in July and August to prepare for that. So that's one of the things that she's working on. The recreation department, Kids at Play is off to a great start. It's been sold out all week, but they're basically into that summer-long program. And it's also giving them a good opportunity to evaluate what works, what doesn't, so they can put into the next system. For the Board of Health, last weekend was the Hazardous Waste Days. She said that got a lot of activity associated with that. She also told us that as far as COVID numbers for the town, numbers are staying down, that there's 7 active cases. So at least compared to some of the other communities that are seeing a low ramp up, at least we're staying a little bit more down. For building is one of those departments that did have a department coordinator position leave with retirement, so that's the current vacancy, and they're working hard to make sure that, along with temporary help, that they're staying current on the building permits. There could be some impact as far as closure of the office because we don't have the staff, and also because they're on inspections, so we just ask for patience. We are working as best we can to make sure that things stay current. For planning, who is actually meeting downstairs tonight. Anyone that's interested in Governor's Landing, that's continued until July 28th. There's going to be modifications because of some conservation input, as well as the applicant is doing some cultural mapping that's required by the state. That's working with the EDC, they're finalizing a facade program that should be starting up probably in about a month. And bring forward information to the boards, and then you can have an idea as far as what's involved, sort of advertising to the public. Coming up, lastly, looking at the library, they're in the middle of the library summer program. So that's something that also is a great resource for the community and opportunity to continue with education of children in town. We are working closer on trying to get the ramp taken care of. That's something required for ADA on the side of Glen Street. And I have all that information so we can make sure that the contractor can get the go ahead to start the permitting for that project. We have final input from the building department what they're looking for. And lastly, HR, as I said at the beginning, It's all about recruitment, trying to pull in employees or people to fill these positions. There's a lot of effort that Sandy puts in to make sure that we can staff these departments, get applicants in and evaluated and join our team. So lots still going on. It's we're going to be preparing for fall and town meeting coming up pretty soon in the fall. So it's not really like we get a breath or an opportunity to catch our breath, but it's still something that I'm still getting introduced to the community. Just filmed your guest with Jan just yesterday, so I think it's out on YouTube now. But it's continue to really enjoy being introduced to residents and board members here.
Great, very good. Thank you very much. Great questions.
I have none.
Just a couple quick things. What are some of the strategies that we're using to recruit and hire? I know that the opportunities are posted on the town website. I don't know if there's other advertising or other ways to try to reach out to folks and get visibility into those.
Yeah, so and this is something that came up at the department meeting where network and personal one-on-one communications is pretty much one of the ways that we're likely to succeed on this. If we haven't known before, at least can advertise that through our professional networks. Anything helps. A month ago, I created a town of Upton LinkedIn account where then things out so that things is shared within a larger professional community. We do advertise on MMA. We do utilize.
We use Indeed,
Right.
Mass Clerks Association, we use the Treasurer Collectors Association, Social Services, and ask for the department heads to throw it out there.
And friends and family, everything we do.
Exactly.
We get the word out. Yeah.
Yeah, really important.
Yeah.
Yeah, we try to use social media, about 10 Facebook page, and opportunities that are available as well. So.
Yeah. Good. Cool. I'm wondering too about the town crier, but I also know that most people that would see that see a lot of the other advertising too.
Check, yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, and I know they picked up in a story or two mentioning about opportunities.
Yes. Yeah.
That are.
Yeah. Okay. Super. And then the only other thing, this is for folks that may be watching or listening, the facade program is a program that is funded through a state grant and involves, I would call it beautification of some of the facades in the main parts of town. So whether it's garage, gas station, other types of small businesses along Main Street and in other high-profile areas, there's a grant which will make available funds to sort of do some renovation, some painting, whatever it might be, to make things look a little bit better around town. Some of these small business owners that may be, struggling or otherwise not able to invest in maintenance of their properties.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair.
Yes, please.
I do see our state has his hand raised. Assuming maybe he has wanted to chime in on something
Great.
that we just discussed.
Perhaps. Mr. Westgate, are you there? He's muted. He may have done that inadvertently. There we go.
Good evening.
Welcome, Dennis.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. Did you ask me a question?
No, we noticed that your hand was raised, so we thought that perhaps you wanted to make a comment, but I figured that may have been inadvertent given that you were also on mute.
I would say I hit it by accident. My apologies.
Well, it's wonderful to see you.
Likewise.
Okay. Can you join us? Do we know? See him in the list. I'll see there. Okay. So we will go to the next agenda item, which is Any public input, public comment? We would love to hear from the community.
Yes.
Hi.
Kevin McMullen, I live at 20 Eames Lane in here in town. And neighbors and I are here to just make you more aware of, first of all, thank you for the opportunity. Appreciate that. Want to make you aware of something that's taking place at the Commerce Creek development that Joe mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
The backside of Commerce Creek is coming to our little neighborhood, and our little neighborhood is 3 houses.
Yes.
Each lane is a 1-lane dead end, no cul-de-sac. It's called a cul-de-sac, I think, in the town plan, but it's not.
Yeah.
Road that ends in one of our neighbors' properties, doesn't go anywhere else. You mentioned the last thing, of course, we're getting the full effect of that as well.
Yeah.
But the real concern we have is in the plan that has been approved. But unbeknownst to us, there's a 7-car parking lot and a new trailhead. The 7-car parking lot is going to go immediately next to 19 Eames Lane. That's a reading. And then the trailhead is going to pass between the 2 other houses on the block. So all 3 of us, the only 3 houses on the block, are going to be immediately, directly, and adversely affected. And we wanted to bring that to your attention because we're interested in working with whomever can help us make some changes. We've met with the planning board, the conservation group committee, commission, the open space committee, many of them, including town planner Paul, came out to the site. Yeah, actually, it was a head scratcher for them too, how this happened, right? We know how it happened. It was approved by the board. No one raised their hand. Unfortunately, we missed the notices or whatever. Here we are, right? It hasn't been done yet. And it's going to really impact our quality of life and frankly, potentially our safety. 7-car parking lot at the end of a dead-end 1-lane road doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Now, the other thing I want to say though is that we're fully aware that open space, right? We have a great location right behind us is up in State Forest, right? So it's fantastic. Arena's up and Liz and I walk there all the time. It's great. We don't really want to cut anything off from that access. In fact, access already exists 200 yards down the street east of us, right? Without any impact to us currently. You can get into the State Forest and do the same things that we do. So we're looking for some options here. Again, we are very appreciative of the planning board, conservation committee, open space committee will all come out to visit us. We invite you all to come out and see the site. It's definitely different when you get there than looking at a piece of paper where the plan exists. Trust me, it's an immediate impact to our lives, and we really won't be able to. We're not going to allow it to happen. We're going to do whatever it takes to get it changed. So we appreciate the opportunity to speak with you and let you know our plan to do whatever is possible and necessary. So.
Other comments?
Which is, again, I would like to say something right in there because whoever came to us, most of the people were really, I think, impressed by how much, how negative we were getting there. I sent today pictures to this. I just looking for my husband's office. It's just a parking lot right here from the bed in the parking lot right here. So it just destroys our entire neighborhood. 3 houses only. It just doesn't make sense. Egress country also doesn't make sense in terms of it's a small dead-end street. I don't know who will design the egress. I just talked to civil engineers and they were just scratching their heads on that.
We do recognize that Commerce Creek needs a secondary access, right? The main access is on North Street, which is a mile across the development from us. And there is a planned gravel road, right, that will come out somewhere along Eames Lane. I completely understand that, and really we thought that was as far as the plan went. We were very surprised and shocked that it was to find out that this parking lot's going to be there and the trailhead's going to change. So, I mean, that's how I don't want to cut you off, but we knew that there was going to be an access road somehow to College Creek. They need that.
They don't call it access. It wasn't even conceived before with the former proposing, I'm sure you remember that time. But we never imagined that it will be more than just like now for firefighters, where needed, yeah, easement towards James Road and North Road, yes, goes there and pull it anyway. But right now, it's just the development that's out of our hands. It seems like out of planning board hands, just because they said, well, we already approved that, what can we do? As a physician, I told them that we physicians make mistakes, and you guys will appreciate it if we actually correct them, right? You don't want something you just done. So that's the attitude. We think that it's possible to revisit this issue really wisely. Correct.
Thank you.
Could you just repeat, excuse me just a second, could you just repeat, what is the house numbers that you live at? Where is the parking lot is proposed between
19 East Lane,
19 East Lane.
Bridge 20.
19 and 20?
Tim Barry, I think, is on the call. If you can join us, it's at 22. This is Eagles Lane. That's the three houses. Immediately next to Irina's house, 19, is a proposed 7-car park.
But it's between 19 and what, the end of the road, or 19 in your house?
It's in front of 20.
It's in front of 20.
Sorry. Yes, and it's like that. Their house, our house, the parking lot is like that. Here is everything is.
I looked at the plan a long time ago, but I don't recall exactly how many houses there are and where the parking lot.
It affects just all three of us.
Okay.
Any other comments?
I mean, sorry, I mean, is it houses or units?
Not just three houses.
Oh, you found it?
No, houses, yeah.
I don't know, okay, that's really focused on the number of, on the development itself. Really,
Yes,
it's
the
focused on
significant
the house.
It's very large.
Yeah.
It's very large.
Yeah.
I was thinking, yeah, I didn't know.
Joe was looking it up as we speak.
There are also, the developer has included 2 private paths out of the development elsewhere to upper state forest, right? So people from that development will easily be able to take advantage of it.
Yeah.
One of the advantages that they'll have.
I've driven up there. I was on Eames Road a couple days ago, checking out the development. And also went on the North Street entrance. Walked around through there just to sort of see all the clearing and the development, what's happening now. Obviously, it's a remarkable change to your
Yes. Yes.
position.
Yeah, they thought they could.
We know things like that can happen, right? It could happen where I live. It's probably one of the most difficult things to deal with as a homeowner when something like that happens.
Totally, yeah, I mean, it's shouldn't have surprised us, but it's overshot. And the fact is, and I really alluded to this, it's not finished, right? This is this emergency access route needs to be done, but the parking lot and the trail don't need to be changed. I mean,
And the time to catch that is now, right? If there's anything that's well, it's now. Once the pavement's there, it's not going to change. So
We talked to a developer, John Lawrence, he came, site visit with volunteers, and he said he has no interest in this parking lot. It's not for him. So he will be having there anyway with that street, it's only for emergencies. So he said, like, yeah, I just cannot cross it out, or the project is planning will confirm. And but he said that I have no problem not doing that. It would be actually easy for me not to do it.
so we're looking for anyone that's interested so that I can help us make change to this thing. So again, you're all invited to see it. Right, if you're there, or walk up the trail, you can see the back of my house, and you can talk, I can talk from my deck to anyone on the path.
yeah,
Irene, you can park, right?
and I saw where that clearing is, right? So presumably that's where the access is.
Yes.
That's
For
what
the houses. Is that new?
Yes,
Okay.
but that was all forest. That was all forest.
And we learned about that whole thing only when they started, the trees started.
When the tractor came through, taking down those trees is when I.
And it's obviously a very narrow road. There's no turnaround at the end.
It's not our fault. In fact,
Sorry. So I'm very familiar with what's there.
I appreciate it.
No, for sure. I know that the town manager, Paul, have second, some of the people that you can talk to. I'm not sure as a board member what the options are with the planning board. I know that it's a special permit and that can be a little bit different than a subdivision approval. So, all of that needs to be worked out, but clearly working with the developer, working with the Conservation Commission, Open Space Committee, finding out who asked for, what the intent is, what the spirit is versus what the letter is, all of that is it should just be a reasonable conversation, right? You're not looking for anything extraordinary, you're not trying to stop the development, you recognize sort of where you are and what your flexibility is. So I would hope that folks will recognize the situation and do everything they can to help get to the best outcome. If there's anything we can do other than advocate, we're certainly happy to do that. So appreciate that. At least I am. I can't speak for the other board members, but please just let me.
It's awesome. We really appreciate that. We thank you a lot. Actually, we're heading down to the planning board right now.
All right. Well, yeah.
I'm just gonna have one thing real quick before you go. I think what has happened in the past, just so you kind of understand, I agree. I know the road well. I grew up in town, so I've done that road a handful of times over the years. It's of course very narrow and there's no turnarounds yet. But I think what happens is we accept a lot of open space in town, we buy a lot of open space in town. And there's been an outcry from certain groups that there's no product we can get to space. So we end up with, say, a few years ago, an additional 75 acres of it. Because there's no place really, there's by private builders and stuff, but there's nothing really close to where that particular area is. So there's other areas in town where we bought open space where we don't provide parking. And I think that's the problem, is we're trying to be more inclusive, really, because when you're taking open space and you're providing access to those areas, you're trying to say, I live on the opposite end of town, but you're trying to give people all over town access to that property. That's the problem. And I think that's probably why this was set up this way, because we actually accepted a bunch of open space. I don't know if you recall, and it was off of Chestnut Street, 3 new roads, 3 new houses there. There's no place to park. You can't park on the side of Chestnut. So it's a great spot, but it's only relevant for people who live on Chestnut. So I think that's the flip side of the argument. And again, I hate to be devil's advocate. Just we can understand that.
Yeah, maybe we did offer some alternatives. Be away from us, but there are we reached out to the state as well. I understood the DCR manages the state forest, so we want to speak this as well. Haven't really found the right person there yet. We'll stay after.
Yeah.
And certainly there, as you probably know, if you've been out there, there is parking. There's a couple of spots that pull off on one side of the road for the existing trail.
Yeah.
It's not optimal. It's not 7 spots or whatever we're going to get out of this. Anyway, I completely understand and appreciate that position. I want people to use it. I just really don't want them parking in our yard or walking through our yard to get to it. I just don't think, I think there's options here.
Well, I mean, I agree with you. If there's a reasonable alternative to where there's one distance that still serves the purpose, but it'd be great. Don't get me wrong.
I appreciate that.
I'm just saying, I think that's the intent.
There is precedent.
The intent that what we're trying to do, what other committees are trying to do, for accepting open spaces, provide advertising, put up kiosks so that people understand where it is and how.
Understood.
Yeah. But yeah, right. Definitely, it's on my radar, so.
Okay. Very much appreciate that.
Did you say that John Francis developer?
Yes, not John. It was planned by the previous developer.
It was sold sometime like mid-21, sold, and Jeff Burns' group took it over. I'm not sure what the company is.
I know. I've worked with John Brown.
Oh, really? Yeah. Tell him we said hello.
I will.
Any other board?
Thank you guys for
Great.
giving us some time. We took more than enough time.
No, it's great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Over here. Bye. So the full hearing is at 7:30. It is 7:30 on hearing? Okay. Yeah, is there a paragraph somewhere? In here. That it needs to be specific language, right?
Yes.
Someone finds gas.
I didn't advise.
That's okay. Sure. Find it somewhere. Oh, oops.
Good.
Water, this is your water. That's all right. Sorry. Oh, yeah, chapter.
Touch responsibility.
Okay.
Yeah. This is. And this is specific for this, right? Okay. Please be advised that the Board of Selectmen will be reviewing the petition of Massachusetts Electric Company and Verizon New England Incorporated, Westboro Street, for support of existing JOP 41. National Grid will install a 35-foot JO push brace pole 4189 on public property. It'll be approximately 15 feet east of P41 at 7:30 p.m. on Tuesday, July 12th, 2022 at Town Hall 1 Main Street. What does JO? Jointly owned, that's so between National Grid and Verizon. Got it. P41, is that like a pole location?
Hold on before.
Pole number? Yeah, 41, got you. Okay, and this is for folks on the phone or listening at the intersection of North Street and Westboro Road. So, we'll open the floor.
Do you want to sit up there or sit?
You can sit there.
So I guess the pole needs to be replaced as well, but as part of it, it has to do with what they call a corner. It's like a reverse corner, so the pole's leading is part of it, and the leading and the edge of the pole is probably less this. So in addition to replacing it, we want to push brakes in to support it, otherwise it's got to do the same thing. The only other alternative would be a pole across the street with a guy wire and another guy wire behind it pulling it back. The location behind the pole is part of the parking, and it's open. So it's this 50-foot span between the pole and the push brace is just another pole. Just put it in an angle. Just to support, so it needs 50 feet between us.
And the push bricks be going into the woods.
Into the dirt.
Yeah.
It's the ground actually, but they're about the same as a regular pole in the street.
Yeah. And it goes away from the street.
Right.
Yeah. Is there any homes there?
No.
No. Okay. Any questions? Questions?
Based on the map, so this is the pole right after the intersection of 4189. I'm sorry, 41. So it will not in any way disturb the land with the monument that's far enough away from that. Yeah, what do you say?
The bottom was.
Yeah, so I was just trying to just verify that. Okay. And do you have a schedule of when you'll be doing?
I don't know. We just design them and then and stuff. You know, it depends on what your process we get back to us is. I don't know. I drove by it once a few weeks ago just to check out what was going to be doing. It doesn't seem like it's got to blow tomorrow, but it is needing pretty good. So I'm sure the next replace it. So We always schedule things at least 2 weeks out, so by the time they back to us, I would say at least a month. And, some design.
Okay. Thank you. Have no other questions?
That,
Great.
For the board, just so you know, it's supposed to be by the DPW director who did provide our department.
Very good. I will take a motion.
I move that the select vote to approve National Grid's request to erect 35-foot pole, brace pole, to support the existing pole JO 841 in accordance with petition dated February 4th.
Second motion.
The exception would be now, you indicated that really rather than that existing pole should be replaced.
Yeah, I think that's part of the problem here too, is that we'll do this.
Should we modify our motion to
No,
include?
because we can replace the pole, we don't need permission.
Okay.
There's an additional piece that, it's not, you know, it's not technically the town take there can be 60 feet, but it's more on the parkland, so.
Yeah. And before I take the final vote, is there any comments or questions from the public? Great. So I'll say accept the motion. All those in favor? Aye. A unanimous action of the board. The public hearing is closed. Next up, we have a public hearing for the water and sewer rates. Thank you, sir. Good to see you again. In person. Yes. Okay, Dennis, water and sewer rates.
Exciting stuff.
Love it.
I'll try to make it exciting. Actually, it's pretty easy this year. So as a reminder, Mr. Chairman, annually I'm required to set the water and sewer rates with the approval of the Board of Selectmen for the upcoming fiscal year. I think it's important for the folks at home to remember that my team scrutinizes very carefully our expense budget and anticipated revenues while following the Department of Revenue's guidelines for setting a rate that allows financial solvency during the next year without excess. In other words, the rate is designed to meet the budget but not exceed the budget. So it is a very lean rate. This is year 2 of our new rate that does not have the infamous surcharge in it. Happy to say. So there's also some errors in the original memo, and I updated it today, and I don't know if you have a copy, but I'll go through those numbers where I found that there was a few typos. So in our fiscal year 23 water and wastewater budget, I'm going to talk about them both at the same time because they are identical. We had some increases in our wages due to contractual obligations associated with the collective bargaining agreement. We also had some expense increases due to our escalating health insurance costs, Medicare increases, and Worcester County retirement contributions. So when we take a look at our revenue forecast, I'm sorry?
I apologize. I just want to go through the administrative process of opening a public hearing, which I was remiss in not doing beforehand. So just bear with me 1 minute. Please be advised that we're in accordance with General Bylaws, Chapter 274, Water, Section 12, rates for connection and use of the town's public water supply system, and under said General Bylaws, Chapter 223, Sewer, Section 4, rates for connection and use of the town's public sewer system, will hold a public hearing to review the water and sewer rates proposed by the Director of Public Works for fiscal year 2023 on Tuesday, July 12th, 2022 at 7:35 p.m. in Town Hall, Route 203, 1 Main Street, Upton, Massachusetts, so 1568. Okay, continue. Thank you. Apologize.
You're not going to make me repeat all that, are you?
No, of course not. No.
So we are proposing a very modest 5% increase across the boards in both water and wastewater. And if you turn to page 2 of my memo, you can see an illustration of that 5% increase in the chart where it shows the current fiscal year, last fiscal year 22 rates, including customer service charge, and then the fiscal year 23 rate proposal. So this represents a 5% increase across the board. The next chart down where it says average cost, customer cost with consumption rate increase, I think this is the most important part of the memo because it gives the board and the folks at home who look at the memo an idea of what they can expect, the average user can expect for an increase in their quarterly payment. And there are some errors in this. So, Mr. Chairman, if you'll indulge me, I'm going to read what these numbers are supposed to say. Most of them are correct. But in the left-hand column that says average quarterly cost for water only, it should say 178, and then the proposed is 186. And that represents basically an $8 a quarter increase in the water rate. And then for sewer only, it should say 408.47, and an increase proposed for 428.90, or roughly just over $20 per quarter. And then combined is 586.47 was last year's rate for the average user per quarter. And we're proposing with their 5% increase would go to 614.90, which is for the average user about a $28 increase if they have both water and wastewater. On the right-hand column, those numbers should read, starting at the top, for the annual cost of water for last year was $712. It will go up to $744. For wastewater, it was $1,633.88, and it will go up to $1,715.60. And for combined use for the average user, it should read $2345.88, increasing to $2459.60. And those are the increases. Keep in mind, in previous years, we have historically gone up on our rates anywhere from as low as, I think one year we only had to go up 2.5%. Another year we had to go up 6%. But that did not include the surcharge, which was on top of that. So this is probably one of the lower rate increases we've had. And
Thank you.
Be happy. I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, the last page represents the other costs associated with our fees. We have cross connections and meter replacement, and all these fees we are proposing to maintain the same. We are not requesting an increase in any of them.
Questions from the board?
No.
Just one quick one. Dennis, I probably ask you this every year. In water and sewer, where are we as far as capacity? We're at about 80% capacity in water. We can accept about another 20%, or how are those numbers look?
We are, so I'll put it in perspective. For wastewater, we have a plant that can handle 420,000 gallons a day. And our benchmark, so I should say if we solve all our I&I problems, our benchmark is probably around 160,000 to 170,000 gallons. So we're not even 50% of our sewer capacity. For our water capacity, we are a little higher. I would say probably using anywhere between 60 and 65% of our capacity, but we still have plenty.
Okay, very good, thank you.
You're welcome.
I don't have any questions other about the rates specifically. Do we know if there are, I see that there's a senior and veteran discount for the customer service charge. Are there any rate discounts available to seniors, veterans, or other groups within the community?
I believe our policy is just for, we have a senior and a veterans discount, and I believe our policy is just for the service charge. There isn't anything for the rates.
And that customer service charge is a once a year charge, is that right?
It's quarterly.
It's quarterly. So for example, in fiscal year 2023, the customer service charge is going to be $20.48 per quarter.
Correct.
Is that right?
Correct.
And do you know what the discount would be approximately?
Off the top of my head, I believe the veteran discount is, I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say it's a percent, I think, but go ahead.
I want to say that the senior discount was, the veterans discount, one of them is 20% and one of them is 50%. I believe the seniors is 50% and the veterans is 20%, but I'd have to go back and look at my notes. I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, I don't have that in front of me.
No, that's all right. I mean, even if it's 50%. So I would ask that we evaluate what kinds of options there might be in terms of additional discounts that we can provide to seniors, veterans, potentially lower income families in town. 50% off the customer service charges, $40 for the year, and when the cost is going up upwards of $400 a year for someone that's using both sewer and water, the savings is negligible. So it would be great if there's some way to, and there may not be, but I think it's always a good thing to do to try to find ways to ease the burden on folks that may be on fixed incomes or lower incomes and need some additional support. So just something I'd ask you to think about, Joe, for you to think about as well. And I don't know what the rules and regulations are, et cetera. Okay.
And I guess also really is, what is the process? Right? What is the process for someone out there that may be either elderly or veteran that doesn't know that this is available to them?
Yeah.
They apply through DPW director or through water wastewater or somehow through town hall. So that may be helpful as well. If we can, even just get the message out there and kind of at least let people know what the process is.
Yeah, and what the existing discounts are.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Wonderful. Thank you. If there aren't any other questions, I will take a motion.
Any of the senior veterans that receive exemption. Exemption for assessment.
And I mean, there's many processes out there, casting familiar with some towns that have applications that you got certain criteria. And it's a window to apply just to the senior tax program. So there's a lot of options that you can sort of pull together and give us some options to evaluate future meeting.
Usually, if they pass the application process for assessments, that it's all about income. Stuff, so it's very easy.
It seems like in our community, the thresholds are just too darn low. It just doesn't seem like people can hit those benchmarks, but maybe you don't know until you come and try.
Right.
I can make a motion if you're ready.
Great.
I make a motion that the Board of Selectmen vote to approve the FY 2023 water and sewer rates as proposed by the Director of Public Works.
Second.
And before we take the vote, I will ask for any public input or questions. All those in favor? Aye. Unanimous action. The public hearing is closed.
Thank you, Thomas.
Thank you very much, sir. Let's go to. All right, let's go through the year-end transfers. Great. Welcome, Mr. Costa.
Good evening. Thank you.
Good evening. Great. The floor is yours.
Thank you. So as you know, annually, we have the year-end budget transfers. It seems like the last couple of years we've appeared in front of you one time rather than coming back multiple times. And we have 10 transfers before you, the total of $64,105. What we tried to, the goal was we tried to have these transfers solved within the department. So we were able to do that with the majority of the transfers. We can go through each one unless, if there's any questions, we can answer them.
Do you have a preference whether we go through each one in reading? Questions? I'm fine either way.
I just had two quick questions about the top two transfers, and then I think in the past, we typically just, I don't know if you want to move that great detail to actually talk about the dollars, the account, to the account, or skip the account numbers, or you want to just motion it as a take.
Yeah, I think that's fine. It's available on the website and the meeting package. It's probably worth, I think, just for folks that might be looking or listening, maybe just to talk about, so, 24,000 transfer to finance department, 7,500 in town council. So we don't have to say the from to, just sort of what the department says.
Yeah. Yes, I actually had mentioned, and for folks listening at home, I actually had mentioned the table is in front of us, basically. Kenny, you can speak to this, really, we've had vacancies, so the vacancies are really what's fueling the top two transfers, I would say. I mean, I would just ask you to speak to that. 12,600 from selectmen expenses to the selectmen salaries, and 24,400 from finance department wages to finance department treasury expenses.
That's correct. So, as you know, in the selectmen, we've had a transition in the town manager's position. So for that transfer, there's contractual obligations, and we did not budget for those contractual obligations during the transition. And then the second item, there's, as you know, there's a vacancy in that, in that department. At one point, there was 2 vacancies in that department. We filled one of the vacancies, and now we're looking to fill the second vacancy, and we're hopeful that we'll have that done in the next 30 days or so. And all we're doing, we're transferring wages that are available over to the treasurer collector expenses, because to fill that treasurer collector position, the vacancy, we hired an outside vendor to perform those duties. We have an interim at this moment.
Very good.
And some of the other items you'll see with, gas, like in the police department with gas and cruiser maintenance, that a lot has to do with the inflationary pressures that, I'm sure you're all seeing at the pump. Those are all items that we did not budget. We weren't even aware of back when we were building the budget. And as you know, with fiscal year 23, we did know we anticipated some pressures in 23. So we did increase the DPW, the police, and the fire budget to try to help offset those costs. We're hopeful that we will cover them. But as you know, we don't know for how long these inflationary pressures will persist.
Are all encumbrances in, Kenny?
I'm sorry?
All encumbrances in?
We have all the... we're going to, we have until July 15th, or I refer typically June 45th to pay our invoices. So we will run another warrant, this week. So we're hopeful that, if there are any invoices, they will be minor. Typically in a year, it ranges anywhere between, $10,000 to $15,000. Because there are times, invoices, they do come in, they do trickle in after year end. But at this point, we're hopeful that this last warrant will cover the majority of them. But if there are any outstanding invoices, we will encumber those funds, as we typically have in previous years.
Okay, thank you. Just a question about the finance department. So we have an interim person in that role. Is there any money budgeted in anticipation of that interim status, lasting, 3 weeks, 6 weeks, 6 months, given that it seems like it would be beyond what we had been paying previously?
I do anticipate in 23, perhaps at the end of the year, we may have another transfer. I'm hopeful that it'll be much smaller. We're hopeful that we'll be conducting interviews in the next week or two. Just recently, we did receive another pool of resumes, applications. So there are applicants with experience. So we're hopeful that we'll be able to fill that position soon. And then we also, would like to allow some time for training as well. So because the interim treasurer collector at this point is she's very experienced. She knows how to perform the duties in her office. She knows how to manage the office. She's doing a great job. So we would like to have also a transition period, and also so that person, we want to set them up to succeed, the new treasurer collector. So we do anticipate there may be a transfer at the end of the year, but hopefully we'll fill the position in the next 30 days or so.
Okay, perfect, great. I don't have any other questions. Okay, I will take a motion.
Make a motion, Board of Selectmen vote to approve the year-end transfers as recommended by the finance director, town accountant, and as depicted in the tables as well.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous action. Thank you, Mr. Costa. Appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you to the board. You too. Take care.
Next up, we have resignation from the Historic Commission. We received the resignation from Donna Jardins from the Historic Commission, and I'm not sure how long she's been on the commission, but I do know that she's been on that commission for a very long time. I also know that she's very active in many other areas in the community and has been for a very long time. She's made, incalculable contributions to the town through all of her volunteerism across many boards, many public organizations. So it's with recognition of that we accept the resignation. We'll take a motion to do that formally, but just wanted to, formally recognize and thank Ms. Jardin for all of her work and commitment to the town of Upton and all of our residents. Thank you very much.
It's too bad on the letter it doesn't talk about how many years she served in each role, because again, as you mentioned, she served in many different seats on the committees. So.
She sure did.
Many dedicated years of service.
Yeah. Thousands and thousands of hours. Thank you. We'll take a motion.
I'll move that the Board of Selectmen vote to accept the resignation with regrets of Donna Estrada and Don Sparrow from the Historical Commission.
Second motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Yeah, actually, we didn't mention.
I was going to say, I don't, you did, no, but I mean, in terms of recognition and thanks for all of his volunteerism and work over the years. I didn't see that one in here. Otherwise, I would have recognized and thanked him for his service. So, Mr. Spargo, I apologize and very much recognize and thank you for all of your contributions to the community. So, thank you.
Yes, and it says here that he served since 2016, so
Great.
pretty good run there, 6 years.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Good work.
We need more people like Don and Don, so that's great. Thanks both very much. Thank you for catching that. Let's see. So next up, we have Zero Grove Street update from the town manager, presumably.
Okay, so at the last meeting, basically, I had working with town council and surveyor to try to get an understanding as far as what really led to the conflict between deeds associated with property adjacent to the gravel lot and our gravel lot. So basically, we were notified that Frank Goodman and his property at Grove, that the deed that we accepted actually indicated we owned half that parcel. And it was discovered that our surveyor, that Goodman property was actually it's a gravel lot. Look at the deeds and track that. So on this plan, it basically is a progress plan identifying lot 1, parcel 3, and then what's called parcel 4. So the next step here will be to, and I plan on talking with Mr. Goodman, his attorney, to line things up for the next board of selectmen meeting, so that we can properly identify, and the surveyor as well as town council can be in attendance virtually to sort of lay this out. But basically to facilitate signing over a deed so that Goodman can have the property they wanted to buy or that they thought they bought. We can then receive the deed for what we thought we were buying. And then that parcel 4 is almost like something that was discovered through the research, that there was a small sliver that was really identified with that parcel 3. But because we had thought that the gravel lot went to the brook, parcel 4 is that in between area between the brook and what they identified as property line here. Hopefully we can get that all signed over together. So it's very much a work in progress. Everyone's trying to work to the same end to make sure that whatever the town wanted to acquire, we have those in place, and whatever Goodman properties intended to purchase and acquire, that they have those in place. So look for this on board's next step.
Questions?
I was just gonna say, it sounds like we're moving in a positive direction.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, this should be wrapped up end of the month.
Good. Thank you, Maureen.
No, all set.
Okay, great. Next up, we have a street sign request for a line drive sign at 9 Christian Hill Road. The application was submitted and DPW reviewed it and approved it, and the police reviewed and approved it. Any questions or comments? Yes.
No, I don't have any comment.
Okay. Take a motion.
I will have the selectmen vote to approve the request for a line drive to be installed near 9 Christian Hill Road and installed as directed by the DPW director.
Second the motion?
All those in favor? Aye. It's action. Thank you. All right. Without further ado, please will be hearing about an Eagle Scout project. So why don't you sit up at the table, introduce yourself, and let us know your plan.
I have these introduced to that set.
Thanks. Thank you.
My name is Charlie Dalton, and I'm going to be talking about my Eagle project at Quan's Beach. Next slide explains what an Eagle Scout is, Eagle Scout project. And then, so there was a total of 4 Eagle Scout projects at Kiwanis, from 132. Next slide. So the benefits would be we would have a safe distance from the traffic and parking lot. It wouldn't take up any valuable beachfront real estate, and it could be used by younger siblings at baseball games and kids at play. The location would be in the grassy area. The kids shouldn't be grassy picnic area behind bleachers for baseball. And northwest area where grass is thin and ground is flat. And like, here's the design, it's like, it's not too big. So like the one at Wisco is a lot bigger than this one. So I don't think that would be like suitable for quantity, so what we have, like every set for Wisco. It's also a smaller design, it's also simpler to build. To be better for quantities. And after all the expenses were added up, the grant will only have to be $1,045.94, excluding tax. But this is not include the ball, which I feel so. In the long term, there will be built no maintenance for this project, except for cut-ups when needed for the wood or the wood chips fitted. For permission conditions, I already have permission from the director from Kiwanis, Mary Conley, and there aren't any permits needed, so like, I say like raise money on this, or get money, and see if the town of Upton Recreation Commission can fund the purchase of the materials for this project. That's it.
Great. Well, this looks like a great project. I do have to recognize all the work that's been done previously. This is a continuation of a long legacy of Eagle Scout projects at Kiwanis. So you're joining Jose Porter from 2014, Brett Masudi, 2015, put in the fire pit, Jack Romaine, who put up a sign, and Josh Crosby, who updated the telephone pole that night, I actually recall. I would also say that the location is good in my opinion, as you stated, because it's really a spot that doesn't get utilized for anything right now. So I think it would be a great use of that space, and obviously talk to the director of the RecCom, or that part of it as well. And then the final thing I would add is my daughter's at Girl Scout camp this week, and her favorite part of camp has been playing dodgeball. So I think it's clearly a popular and enjoyable game for kids. So I'm certainly in support of the work. Oh, we don't have any questions.
I have a question. I don't. I'm gonna get you one.
But it's a two-part question. Could you tell us what would rough dimensions be? When you see that, it's kind of tough to tell. Would that be about, looks like about the shape of an octagon? Maybe?
Yeah, it's like an awesome. It doesn't really matter. It's like old wood. It's not very big. It's like you can fit like comfortably like 10 people to play the game. Like you just like play with your hands and like it makes it out some light when they're out. It's like a simple game.
Do you knock the ball within the, or are you trying to knock it over it, or are you staying inside?
No, you stay inside. It's like a bunch of people, and it's the ball to your foot, and you're out. The last person's in, which wins.
So you don't want to pick it.
So you don't-
Hit it. You gotta hit someone's
Hit
feet.
it all in the hand, right?
Throwing ball. Kind of trying
And
to
hit
keep
the
it.
ground.
Ball can't hit the
No,
ground.
they hit the ground.
So you're basically swatting a ball at each other's legs. So it's like
Yeah.
roll over people using your arms as a glove.
Pretty much.
Like what size ball? Yeah,
It's like a playground ball.
Like basketball size.
Yeah.
yeah.
Like dodgeball variation.
We're gonna go play. Yeah.
Yeah, but we can have a meeting there.
It's really popular at scout camps, it's kind of come more mainstream. This is one at Fiscal with the.
Yeah. And that's like it's an age thing.
It's new.
Yeah,
I never played it.
very good.
And it's all the, from the looks of your illustration here, it's all wood chips inside and around it.
It's just inside with wood chips. Like I'm not gonna change anything outside of it. I just have the wood and then wood chips in the middle.
And I think I missed the part, sorry to hog all the questions, but I missed the part that you had mentioned. Did you talk to RecCom? Do they like the idea? Do they like the placement of it?
Yeah, the project is approved. I just need to get money so I can get the materials so I can go in.
Okay, so Raycom has already approved the fund?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Very good. So basically, we basically have to get permission to use the space.
That's it.
I like to go see it built. Even maybe try it out.
Me too.
You're gonna have to put that in the motion, sorry.
Try it out.
And so recreation, they did approve the project, but we don't. For the funding. So the rest.
All right, now that's.
I don't think that's.
That's a key clarifying
Yeah.
point. Never tell a board you've got the money if you don't have the money. So we can help you, but definitely want to make sure that we know.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what I would probably say, check with Raycom, then come back, we can fund the project, but check with Raycom first.
I mean, I think we got the money and you might, this could fall under beautification, I would think. Right, to fund from. No, once you get any.
Sure. From backs and right. First, they can find it.
I think one of the things, so there's some questions that I think are pretty valid, that are asked on actually the last sheet. If this is something that then is permanently installed, we want to just verify with the building that, there isn't any concern that you go ahead. And also, building commissioner, inspector is the ADA person. Not knowing what extent something like this needs to comply with ADA, at least that would be something to just verify. But if it is something that stays in a permanent location, that would be something that we just would want to make sure that we're not running inadvertently into issues. We recently ran into an issue just with Girl Scouts installing a book kiosk, but it was in a location that didn't comply with ADA. So just want to make sure we don't create a challenge, so that, you get all the supplies, pull together all the meetings, do fundraising,
Yeah.
and then run again, logistics.
And right, and we did run into some of those challenges with the fire pit that was installed and also with the building. So there's been challenges.
Yes. So, but, yes, already.
Yeah. So we could, I think, but this is for discussion, we could approve funding this from beautification pending approval from the building and ADA regulations, to make sure that it adheres to ADA regulations as well as any building regulations or requirements.
One thing I thought I was hearing, unless I was reading between the lines, is if it's gonna be at once each site, can we use beautification money on that site?
Right?
That's the only thing.
Public space.
Right.
Yeah, so I'm thinking we dot our i's, cross our t's, and make sure we get this right, and just come back to it. You have my support, it sounds like you have all our support.
Yeah.
We just have to make sure of a couple of things. We have to make sure that Redcom is good, make sure that that particular location is ADA compliant. Let's just say you can do the project at maybe not that particular spot, maybe not to move in one way, shape, or form. And then from there, we'll just have to figure out the funding component. Is that being done through Redcom, or we just do it through our various,
Have you spoken to Parks and Rec yet? Spoken funding?
No, our communication through, the recreation director.
So Maria's all set. You talked to her. You mentioned that. And then also the question about location, you talked with her about that. So she's fine with the location. She's fine with the project. Haven't talked about funding with her, which is totally fine. Did you mentioned something about it didn't need to be accessible? I don't know if you talked to her, if you talked to anybody from the building commission at all, or the building department?
Accessibility.
Yeah. So that's like handicap, ADA, accessible stuff. So, okay, so we'll, just in case you had, we can already address it. So two follow-up items, check with the building inspector and ask the building inspector if he or she has any input into the construction of the Gaga pit. And then the second thing to ask is about accessibility, so compliance with the American with Disabilities Act policies and requirements. And once you get those two things, you can talk to Maria and see if she has the funding. And if she doesn't have the funding, come back to the board and we'll make sure that we find the appropriate funding, whether it's through beautification or through some other grant that we have available to us. I'm sure we can find something somewhere, whether it's the board of selectmen expensing, which I don't think is for this, but nice. So,
Charlie, what I'd like to do is have you write down your email and best phone number, or whether it's for you as well. I'm actually meeting with the building commissioner, with Maria, recreation director, and Dennis, to meet with someone out of Boston dealing with the EDA issues at the beach. So I can at least raise this issue as far as, to what extent Maria should at least be familiar with this. We can have a general discussion, and that way, if we need to set up something either at Honest Beach, have you come on out and have that discussion to provide a little bit more guidance. Since I already have that meeting set up tomorrow.
Tomorrow, that's great.
Yeah.
Charlie, what are you doing tomorrow?
Driver's ed.
Say you want to go to a very important meeting? Great.
Setting priorities.
Exactly. Okay, super. Any other comments, questions?
No, I don't think we can really motion anything until we have some answers.
I think that's right. We'll table this until another conversation. I think we've got some good takeaways. Charlie, let us know if you have questions. Mr. Layden is here as well. He's the town manager. He can help you sort of navigate this.
An excellent job on your presentation.
Yeah, and congratulations on even the eligibility to becoming Fiscal. That's quite an accomplishment. So congratulations. I know you've got to get over these last hurdles here, but just getting to the point you're at it represents years and years of dedication, work and commitment, and volunteerism. So thank you for that.
I'm going to be the best person to follow up with.
Mr. Layden, yes. Yeah. Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll email my contact information so you have my email. Thanks so much.
You can send me a couple of phone calls.
See you later, guys. All right. Review of the meeting minutes from June 21st.
I put it on there, but we don't have them ready, so we'll just start.
Okay. Any other? That's it. I love it. All right. I will take a motion to. Well, I was trying to find that. So I went behind my screen so that nobody can see it. I had it up here, but then I noticed I was going to switch it. So I had to put it someplace where I won't get
I
stuck.
thought you had a closing comment. I thought that was.
Yeah, that was for closing comment.
That's, it's all thing wrong, please.
I'm going to hit it with the gal.
Say so.
I mean, I'm not telling you, but it was a kid Zoom.
Your quick closing comment, please. Have the floor. And I think we're ahead of schedule, so 8:19, we're ahead of schedule.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll just.
We have 10 minutes, we can listen to Steve.
I promise.
On the other side, the floor is yours. Please.
Very good, thanks. I was just going to recommend that we circle back to a couple of loose ends, maybe, that we kind of had, and I think it probably been, we haven't discussed them in a while, I thought it might be something I'll just throw out and get it from. One of them being, I do time to go back and check the notes, but we had discussed the property that we were considering selling up on Westwood Road. Yeah. So I thought it'd be a good idea to at least talk about that, get a little airplay, see where we're at with the process, what's your interest, what's your interest. Also,
The other thing on that is that Eric did send out an RFP on that. You've been able to
We'll,
find that?
let's put it on the agenda.
one at a time.
Oh,
So let's put that on the agenda.
yeah. I mean,
So
I
we'll
need to bring it back.
we'll get that on the agenda.
And then I was also going to mention, as far as across the street, of course, it makes me think of it because of the mess that we're going through with the survey issues. I thought we also had a resident in town express some interest in the church. And I thought it was a good discussion item to at least understand where are we? Is there, I always say, what are my options? So what are our options? If there's interest in the church, at some point in time, would we consider selling the church separate from all the other parcels? So I thought, and again, because the email came, I thought that it does at least warrant some sort of discussion.
Let's add that to the agenda.
So on that, one of the important, say, stakeholders is also the EDC. So one of the options may be to invite them in for one of the August meetings to have that as more of a discussion.
Yeah, I think that would be great.
Yeah, Joe and I had talked earlier, if we're talking about, say, maybe that's something that we could incorporate into the next RFP. So if there's a timetable, if we know that hypothetically the RFP is going to be scheduled to go out, just say September 1st.
Yeah.
September 7th, whatever that number is, or that date issues. Perhaps before that, maybe a good idea to say, all right, let's just talk about options. Let's see, there's some interest perhaps in that building. Vet all those ideas. Of course, it's what we have. To at least get a feeling of,
So let's add that to an upcoming agenda.
Okay.
Great. What else?
that's it.
All right. Good.
That's
Good.
it.
And absolutely, anytime either of you have things that you want to put on the agenda, I know I send out the drafts and want to make sure that we both see that. Yes, certainly no need to wait for this meeting to express interest in adding things. We can do that at any time. All right.
Although it's a very busy time of the year, it's somewhat quiet for us, right? It's very busy, for Joe, it's very busy during transfers, long as other things.
A lot of great time to have some of those conversations.
Right, I thought that maybe as we near September 1st, we could pick those up, certainly next agenda. Once we get into August, we start wrapping up for our busy season.
Good.
We start talking budget timeline. Get started.
Oh, we did that last week. I thought, didn't
We have budget timeline. Well,
Board
we started last
we?
meeting.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so we'll take that offline. Any other comments or questions before we adjourn?
I promise I'd make a motion to adjourn, so I'm ready.
Go for it. Go for
All
it.
right, I'll make a motion to adjourn this evening's Board of Selectmen meeting.
I second the motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous action. Thank you, folks. Thank you, folks watching. That was entertaining.
And you know what?
Have a good night.